The Vallejo City Unified School District regular governing board meeting for July 10th, 2013 is now convened to public session. Roll call, please.
Trustee Stewart is absent. Vice President Ubaldi is absent. Trustee Mumpson?
Present.
Trustee Waterman?
Present.
President Wilson?
Present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The board met in closed session, and the only thing that we have action that was taken on agenda item number 2.1, the board in closed session by a vote of 3-0 with 0 abstentions, the board took action to approve the dismissal of employee ID number 2484. Student discipline matters.
Madam President, if there's no discussion, I move to accept the recommendations of the Administrative Hearing Panel on student AHP 93.
I would second.
It has been moved and seconded that for the expulsion of student S 2013-AHP 93. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We would like to note at this point that our superintendent is on vacation, and our assistant superintendent, Mel Jordan, is seated in her seat and will assist us through this meeting. Minutes of May 29th, 2013.
I would move, Madam President, I would move to approve the minutes.
Before we get started on the minutes, were we all present at May 29th? Were we all present June 19th?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure, because it's only 3 of us, if somebody was absent, you could not approve. We could not approve, and we would have to defer those minutes to the next. But as long as all 3 of us were there, that's important. Okay, go on.
I would move to approve minutes for May 29th.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes for May 29th, 2013 special governing board meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes for May 29th special governing board meeting are approved. Minutes of June 19th.
I would, go.
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the minutes of June 19th governing board meeting be approved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes for June 19th, 2013 are approved. The adoption of the agenda.
I would move, if there's no discussion, I would move that we adopt the agenda as it is.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt the agenda as printed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is adopted as printed. Item 6.1, resolution number 2594, proclaiming Korean War Veterans Armistice Day. The board needs to approve resolution 2594. Yeah, we can read it. Who's going to read it? Okay.
I would request that Trustee Waterman read the resolution.
I'm here to serve. Vallejo City Unified School District Resolution number 2594, proclaiming Korean War Veterans Armistice Day. Whereas on June 25th, 1950, the Republic of Korea was attacked by the armed forces of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which started one of the defining moments of the Cold War. And whereas thousands of Vallejo residents answered our country's call for military service by joining the armed forces or by working at military bases. And whereas Mare Island Naval Shipyard and other military bases in Solano County were immensely instrumental in supporting the Korean War effort. And whereas the schools in Vallejo were and still are enormously influential in preparing our residents to meet the educational requirements of the United States Armed Forces. And whereas through 3 years of intense combat, American and Allied forces overcame some of the most unforgiving conditions in modern warfare, as they weathered bitter winters, punishing heat, mountainous terrain, and were often outgunned and outmanned. And whereas the conflict contributed some of the most noted campaigns and battles in U.S. military history, including the breakout from the Pusan perimeter, the Incheon invasion, and the battles of Imjin River, Kapyong, Bloody Ridge, Heartbreak Ridge, Old Baldy, White Horse, Triangle Hill, Hill Erie, Outpost Harry, Pork Chop Hill, Punch Bowl, and the Chosin Reservoir. And whereas of the 33,686 battle deaths, 2,830 non-battle deaths, and 8,176 troops missing in action who gave the ultimate sacrifice for the United States of America, 30 of those heroes are from the city of Vallejo. Whereas on June 27, 2013, on the 60th anniversary of the Military Armistice Agreement signed at Panmunjom, I hope I said that right, the Vallejo Veterans Council and the Republic of Korea Council General of San Francisco will honor all who served in the Korean War and will also pay lasting tribute to the brave men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. Now therefore be it resolved that the Vallejo City Unified School District Governing Board proclaims July 27, 2013 as the 60th anniversary of the Korean War Veterans Armistice Day and encourages educators, students, and residents to observe the event with appropriate ceremonies and activities that honor and thank our distinguished Korean War veterans and those who lost their lives for freedom's sake.
At this time, we'd ask the representative to come forward, and we would like to present the resolution.
Should we approve it first?
Oh, I'm sorry. We need to approve it.
Prior to that, I would,
Automatically approved, okay.
prior to that, I would move to adopt Resolution 2594, proclaiming Korean War Veterans Armistice Day.
I second that.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve resolution number 2594, proclaiming Korean War Veterans Armistice Day. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution is approved. Please come forward, and we will present the resolution. I'm going to ask Mr. Mumson. Would anyone like to say anything?
I do. Yes.
Okay, please. Please, Mrs. Stewart.
Good afternoon, Vallejo City Unified School District Board of Education President Hazel Wilson, Trustee Adrian Waterman, Trustee Raymond Victor Momsen, and Valerie Weatherly. I am Elissa Shanks Stewart, a member of the Vallejo Sister City Commission, and I've been asked to read this to you on behalf of the Republic of Korea Council General of San Francisco, the Honorable An Dongman, as he nor his staff could be here today because they are attending to the survivors of the tragic accident at San Francisco Airport. On behalf of the 11th President of the Republic of Korea, Madam Park Geun-hye, we are honored to be here today as you commemorate the 60th anniversary of the military armistice agreement, which ended the Korean War in my homeland. We also thank you for honoring all of our veterans, both Koreans and Americans alike, who fought and died side by side for freedom and democracy. This year marks an important 63rd anniversary of the birth of an enduring friendship between the United States of America and the Republic of Korea that is stronger today than ever before. Our alliance is rooted in shared sacrifice, common values, mutual interests, and respect, and this partnership is vital to the peace and stability in Asia and the world. Since the founding of the United States of America, your nation has relied on the U.S. Armed Forces to ensure your safety and security at home and to protect lives and liberties of others around the globe. On June 25, 1950, communist armies with approximately 135 troops initiated the Korean War as they poured across the 38th parallel, threatening the very survival of my homeland. Nearly 1.8 million members of the United States Armed Forces served along with the forces of the Republic of Korea and 20 other allied nations under the United Nations command to defend freedom and democracy in the Korean Peninsula. Courageous American and Korean troops weathered unforgiving conditions. In fact, historians say it was one of the toughest conditions in the history of warfare, and rallied to our young republic's defense. The Korean War resulted in 36,574 Americans losing their lives and 103,284 wounded, and 8,176 are still declared missing in action. Over 100 of these heroes were from Solano County, and 30 alone were from the city of Vallejo. The courageous service and ultimate sacrifices of these patriots and our allied combatants safeguarded a free government and a vibrant economy in the Republic of Korea, forging a bond between our people that stands strong today. As we commemorate the 60th anniversary of the ceasefire, let us raise our flags high to honor the service and valor of veterans like these brave people and their representatives behind me today. Let us reflect on the principles for which they fought, and let us reaffirm the unshakable bond between the Republic of Korea and the United States of America. In closing, let us also pray for the health and welfare of the people that were affected by the San Francisco airport tragedy. As a member of the Vallejo Sister City Commission, I thank the Republic of Korea Consul General for allowing me to read this message on his behalf.
And I would ask that each member standing, please state who you are and or who you represent also, for the record.
Good evening. I'm A. Marie Young, and I'm representing my late husband, Clark Spencer Young, who served in the U.S. Navy.
I'm George McKinney. I served right here in Vallejo at the Mare Island, and then I was transferred to 2 aircraft carriers, and I served on both of them from 1950 to 1954. And during the time that I was there, we went overseas, and we lost a lot of pilots off the carriers. And I'm proud to have served. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I'm Virginia McKinney, Navy wife, and we met while my husband was stationed at Mare Island. And we were just newlyweds when he went overseas. But we're proud to have survived. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Nestor Aliga. I'm one of the volunteers of the Vallejo Veterans Council, and we will be honoring about 400 Korean War veterans on July 27th. That's a Saturday, 1 p.m. at the Vallejo Veterans Building. So we invite everybody. We will have certificates of recognition from the Department of Defense, Secretary of Defense, from Congressman Thompson and Garamendi, State Senator Wolk and Assemblymember Bonilla, the Solano County Board of Supervisors, the City of Vallejo, and sixth, from the Republic of Korea Consul General. So we invite everybody to join us, and if you know of any other Korean War veterans, please let me know, and I will beg all of those folks to get me more certificates. So thank you for allowing us to be here today.
Thank you, and thanks so much for your service. Thank you. At this time, we will have, there are no staff reports. We'll have Community 7.2, community members' comments. Community forum. Gordon Tremont.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Gordon Tremert, and I'm representing the Seniors Advisory Committee. And what we are trying to do is help with the transition from the school board, from the school district to the various other agencies that are trying to take on some of the classes. The committee met formally on June 25th with Mr. Santos. Trustee Ubaldi was there also, and we appreciate him for being at the meeting, and we thank him very much for being there, and he was a valuable contribution to the meeting. The committee provided additional input by memo to Mr. Santos regarding development of a community-supported mentoring program. We gave a memo to Mr. Santos, which assumes has been shared with the board, that lists our suggestions. One point of emphasis that we have is based on input from older adults, the mentoring program should be inclusive of the entire community for broad-based support, and its name should reflect this. Seniors should be included if they wish to participate, but a lot of seniors are not able to participate, and they should be able to enjoy their retirement and not have to worry about how they're being labeled. Per Mr. Santos' request, the committee provided written input on total resource possibilities to the older adult programs and to the STARS program. Per Mr. Santos' request, the committee made official contact with the GVRD board at its meeting on June 27th. Per Mr. Santos' request, we advised the GVRD board that the committee is an official conduit for older adult questions and concerns, and the committee is available for their use. And GVRD is in the process of interviewing and hiring instructors for the traditional older adult courses. The committee will participate in the hiring interview for the Fit After 50 class, which is supposed to be next week, the interview. And we will be there to ask any questions and then to give our recommendations. The committee provided input as to the location of the older adult course outlines, which GVRD is using to develop the class descriptions for the GVRD Fall Activity Guide. So this concludes my input from the committee and the older adult students, and thank you very much.
Thank you, and we really appreciate the report. Any questions from the board? Thank you. Janet Trimmer. Sorry.
Thank you. We had too much to cover in one report. So I'll continue on. From the committee's observations, GVRD wants to keep the transferred older adult classes going and is actively working to do so. However, the short time frame allowed for the transition and associated details have made the transition more difficult than it could have been. By this fall, however, we should see how this all works out, and we'll report to you then. Per Mr. Santos' request, the committee provided written input to Mr. Santos and Mr. Wignall of Adventus, listing the STARS caregivers' questions and concerns regarding the transition of STARS to Adventus. Adventus will use this input to prepare for its July 16th meeting with the STARS caregivers. The committee was a catalyst in arranging the July 16th meeting. From the committee's observation, best understanding, and knowledge, since we are not privy to all of the goings-on that you all are doing, but from what the older adults see, we feel obligated to report to you that appears to the older adults that the STARS transition does have some unresolved questions with staffing, grant funding, liability insurance, and possibly licensing. The committee's input is that the school districts take a real serious look at this, since the August 2nd transition date is fast approaching. The committee will attend the July 16th meeting with the STARS caregivers and Adventus, and hopefully all these things will be resolved by then. A challenge that is still facing the school district and GVRD and perhaps Adventus is obtaining instructors to do the specialized training required for Retrain Your Brain, Memory Boosters, STARS, and Caregivers training. Adventus and GVRD and the school district are partners in the new Vallejo Adult School, and we're asking, could arrangements be made among the partners to work together to sustain these classes? Memory Boosters was transferred to GVRD. It's for seniors with normal brain functioning. GVRD is looking for an instructor and asks officially through this committee, as its role as a conduit to the board, that if the school board and Adventus could help them with Retrain Your Brain, the same question. GVRD is asking for help from the school board and Adventus. So could an arrangement be made among the partners to work together to sustain these classes so the classes can be taught as a package of interrelated progressive education classes as originally attended? This would be in the best interest of the older adult students, the caregivers, the partners, Vallejo, and the surrounding committees. Ciola Carrell is a contact for GVRD if you can help her. The committee also asks if the board could perhaps reconsider some of their decisions regarding these 4 programs and help out with staffing, funding, and other resources to sustain these programs a little longer. What we don't want is for the beautiful butterfly that we all envisioned from Mr. Santos's eloquent presentation last time to turn out to be a little sickly butterfly, or maybe even a moth, or perhaps we don't even, a little cocoon that never even gets off the ground because it hasn't had the nurturing effect. The political climate in California is changing. There's grassroots advocacy that older adults' education be included in the state budget. The school board's been proactive on this with the actions that they've taken, and we just ask that the school board continue to be proactive, help out these 4 classes as much as you can, And when political reality catches up, you guys will be in the position to help our little butterfly grow here. So thank you very much. This concludes my portion of the committee's report.
Questions? I'll wait until then. Okay. Mr. Fitzpatrick.
As you know, I have been serving as a part of the committee. I am not, I repeat, not speaking as a part of the committee. I am speaking as a long-term student at the Vallejo Adult School and, as you know, an advocate for a very long time. I'm really sorry that Dr. Bishop and two of your board members are not here. And actually, it kind of reminds me of the old joke about the farmer that went out with a load of hay and only half his cattle showed up, and he didn't dump the whole load. Well, unfortunately for you, you're getting the whole load. You know?
We appreciate that.
What I wanted to start with was a little history that you all know, but you know, Dr. Bishop didn't, and I'm really sorry she's not here to hear this because, as you know, the adult school was funded through ADA for many years, and then about 5 or 6 years ago, the state changed that and said, okay, instead of ADA, we're just going to give you whatever funding you got last year. And oh, by the way, you don't have to actually spend it on the adult school. I know you remember that well because we talked about it at the time. 70% of the school districts in California immediately closed their adult schools and took that pot of gold to K through 12. You did not do that. You took $2 million. Then you came back for another $1 million, and I spoke at that time, and you said, well, yeah, you know, we hear you, Mr. Fitzpatrick, and, you know, you really are right, and we really do need to support the school. So we'll figure out how not to do that. And then the next month, yeah, I did it anyway. Okay, that's all ancient history. You took the money that had been, oh, by the way, in case you don't know or didn't remember, under ADA, 3/4 of the funding for the adult school, 3/4 of it was for older adult and disableds. If you didn't know that, I'm sorry that you didn't. So you take that pot of gold, you take $3 million and use it for K through 12 and start charging fees to the older adults. And we said, okay, fine, we'll pay the fees. And last time I spoke to you, you're talking about this transition and getting rid of the older adult programs. And I pointed out to you then that just from a business standpoint, that's not a good thing to do because those older adult fees, I'll make this quicker. Those older adult fees not only paid the cost of the instructor and the variable cost of the classes, but contributed towards paying for your principal and your staff and the fixed costs of operating the school. And now you've given that all to GVRD and possibly Adventus. What I understand, and I may be wrong, but what I understand is that everything I've read, and I've spoken to several of our legislators, and they all said, well, yeah, that's actually what's happening, is that in another year, in school year 14-15, and I know you already know this, they're going back to ADA, and you're losing your pot of gold. The difference is now that your ADA is going to be 1/4 of what it used to be because you've gotten rid of the part that gave you 3/4 of your funding. And so I'm scratching my head thinking, how are you going to pay the principal? How are you going to pay the janitor? I think that if it's not too late, it would be wise to give serious consideration to turning this ship around and getting those things back. Because when you go to ADA, you're going to need those students to get your ADA to pay for the cost of operating that school. Now, I mean, you know, I can't see the future, and I could be totally wrong, but it sure is what it looks like to me. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Comments from board members?
You know, the only
Director
thing,
Waterman?
Thank you very much. I am grateful that the STARS program have you as advocates, and I'm very excited and glad to know that there's going to be an important meeting on the 16th. In my opinion, that was the one program that was didn't necessarily fit very well into any other paradigm, and was very delicate and very important. So I'm glad to know that you guys are advocating for the STARS program, and I need to know more if there's more to know about that. And yes, 14-15 should be a very complicated period of time. That's a pretty complicated thing to get into, actually, but.
Many facets to every question. I understand this has been done very simplistic.
Please come to the microphone.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Because of the tape.
We document on the
We
mic,
document
yeah.
from the microphone. No,
Okay.
come to the microphone if you have something to say.
Go
You're
ahead,
more than-
Howard. I'm sorry.
No, all I was saying was, you know, I made this very simplistic. It's a very complicated
Yeah.
issue with many facets. I don't take anything away from that, and none of us sees the future, but, you know, and I'm sorry that I spoke from the audience. I won't do it again. I will
okay.
be good.
That's
You're in
okay.
good company, Howard. It happens all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mrs. Tremer, okay.
And I reiterate,
gonna
based
let him
on,
speak.
based on Trustee Waterman's question to, I assume, the committee, and because I'm part of the committee, I'm responding.
Please. Go
The
right.
committee is on the outside looking in, and like Howard says, we see bits and pieces. So all we can do is give you the benefit of what we see and what we hear and what the people want us to communicate back to you. My concern is how much feedback do you get via Mr. Santos to you? Because none of this is new information to Mr. Santos. So we communicate to Mr. Santos. Mr. Santos, we assume, is communicating to you. So our assumption is that the board is aware of the details of our concerns, and it's not appropriate for us to speak about that at this place. So we'll be glad to answer any questions that you have in an appropriate venue, because, like I said, we only have a piece, and we're trying to be very conscious that we don't spread any rumors. Okay, so that's where we're at. But we do ask you to please rethink where the ship's going, as Howard so nicely put it. Thank you.
What we will be asking is that Mr. Santos make a report on our next, to our next board meeting. And that way it's in the public. You hear it, we hear it, everybody hears it, okay? Thank you. Dr. Robert Schussel? Schussel.
I want to talk about today what I consider access to this board. What you say you want, that you want to have the public involved. Your behaviors suggest that they're designed to exclude the public from participating and knowing what this school board does. You start your meetings at 5 o'clock. It's very hard for parents to come to your meetings or even watching on VCAT. You are the only school board in Solano County that starts their public meetings at 5. I was told that the other schools start later school districts start later to accommodate working parents. For example, Fairfield starts at 6, Dixon at 6:30, Benicia and Vacaville at 7. You also are in a very inconvenient location, one of the worst in Vallejo, and public transportation is basically non-existent. Secondly, you charge $12 to get a DVD of your meeting, which is a barrier, I think, to many people. And if you had to do it every time, that'd be a great expense for many people. In fact, I would almost argue you're probably breaking the law by charging so much for a DVD. In Vacaville, their meetings are posted on the website, and in Fairfield, she doesn't charge anything if you bring in a disc, and $1.50 if she needs to supply a disc for you. And I would argue that anyone who knows better, that trying to get a schedule from VCAT and when you are going to be shown is almost impossible. And also that many people don't even have access to Channel 28. And I would also say, why aren't your meetings posted on the internet when it could be done for free? Mr. Garman will be talking in a minute, and he can tell you how easy it is to do and all of the advantages it offers. In fact, I'll bet you half the students in the high school could show you how to do it. You have a competent IT department, and I spoke to some people in the city, and if they need some help here, they'll offer some help on how to do it. And when I spoke to Fairfield and told them that about posting in the meetings, the person was very enthusiastic and excited about it and said she was going to speak to her superintendent. When I called Vallejo, there wasn't that same level of enthusiasm, nor did anyone ever follow up with me to let me know what they had learned or whether the school board was going to do anything different.
Thank you. Mark Garman.
Hi, guys. Now, I just want to confirm, you don't put these meetings on the internet at all?
You mean streaming?
Streaming or posting them anywhere, that's correct?
They are not on YouTube.
Okay, let's,
Well, that's not for you to answer.
okay.
Is there someone here who can actually answer that?
Mike Cheap, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, we don't.
Okay. Well,
Mike, let me ask you, can we do it?
I was wanting to hear what he had.
Okay, and then I want you to talk.
Okay.
Okay?
As you guys know, I run the Vallejo Independent Bulletin, and I do a lot in the way of reaching the public on no budget. And I'm going to tell you, it would be very, very easy for you guys to put all the meetings on YouTube. Now, I talk to people about it, and they get nervous. Oh, my God, can we do that? Yes, you can. Yes, it's easy. Yes, it's free. There's a lot of misconceptions. One is, oh, you can only put up a short 10-minute thing or something like that. Well, like, for example, a while ago, there was a meeting on this day reporting center. Now, I went and filmed it because there was no other public access unless you were there. 2-hour and 30-minute meeting, right? I mean, it's on my phone. I can watch it on here if it loads. So you can put these meetings up on the internet very easily. People also are concerned about public meetings with things like people putting up nasty comments. Well, you can disable that and just put them up. You can take it, you can embed it on your website. Cost, zero, nothing. You can put hours-long meetings up there. You're already running the cameras. It is tough for a lot of people at work to come here at 5 o'clock, and I think that the schools, I mean, I haven't followed it as obviously intensely as I have the city council meetings, but our schools are critical to Vallejo, and there's lots of people, I can tell you, that either commute or whatever, they can't make it to these meetings. And catching it on VCAT is like catch as catch can. The beauty of putting it on the internet, it goes to streaming devices, to your phone. You can put a headphone jack in and listen to it. If you watch it at home and you enable cookies, what will happen is you can listen to it, you can watch it. If you stop, when you go back, it'll pick up where you left off. So it is a great way to give people access. It's free because at this point, it's very difficult for people, for parents, to, concerned citizens, unless they can make it here at 5 o'clock, and that's tough, especially for people that commute to the city. It makes it very, very inaccessible. So if you want to make it accessible, do it that way. It's cheap. And not only is it cheap, I'll come and show you how to do it. It's like, set up a YouTube account, click upload, click file. That's it. It uploads. You can take it and put it right on your website. Very easy, very accessible. Cost is zero. I know, you hear about this Granicus thing that the city uses, and that costs money. And of course, it's being sold by a guy in a suit who says this is the official thing, and that's great for streaming. Okay, here I'm a crazy dude in a Hawaiian shirt. I just finished up quickly, and you're like, what is this guy talking about? But the fact is, you can put it on the internet for free. It would be a great service to the public. to be able to access these meetings whenever they want, wherever they want. And it would encourage involvement. I mean, you know, sometimes it's a slow meeting. Nobody's going to look at it. Other times it's very pivotal. People can't make it. They want to be. They can look at it. So anyway, if you need any help doing it, or if you're interested in doing it, and I hope you are, because it'll be a service to the public, feel free to contact me at the website, vib.editor@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to show you. Or if all else fails, get a junior high school kid. They know how to do it.
Mike Cheap. Mike Cheap. Do you feel nervous? Yeah, because you're supposed to be afraid of it.
Good evening, Board.
Okay.
Ms. Wilson. Yes, I'm the director of IT. I have one of my technicians here, Rich Stevenson, who is much more knowledgeable than I am in this matter. He's the one that's usually filming all of you, so I'll let him speak to the point.
And certainly we're not opposed.
We actually are a little more advanced in junior high.
Okay.
We do have a YouTube channel. We do post videos on YouTube, but we have hit size restrictions because often our meetings go 3, 4, 5 hours. And I have, okay, so that's great. So just show me, because when I went to load it, I got blocked out. No problem. So all we need to do is just work with him, get that done. So we are doing this, and we have every desire posted on the web.
Okay.
So
And
that's, I want to do that. I mean,
Okay.
we wanted to do that for a
Okay.
long time.
And as
so.
president of the board, I'm sure I can speak for the board and for Dr. Bishop. We have no secrets here. This is a public meeting. We have absolutely no reason not to want to have all the input in the world. And that's one of the reasons why we have the grand jury report on every agenda this summer, because we're going to make sure that we answer that report because we own it. And so therefore, we have whatever help and assistance Mr. Gorman can assist you with, we appreciate it, because we have no problem having our meetings in the public.
Absolutely.
Thank
so
you.
that's really good news. I mean, I was glad to hear him say that.
Yes.
But yeah, we have every desire. And just for the record,
Mhm.
anybody that has needed a DVD, often they'll just bring us a DVD and we've copied it for them. So we try to set a policy now, I think, of charging something because we have labor involved. But we have always helped people with that. So, I mean, we have no, I just want, I
So
feel
if
like
they
they feel like we're
bring-
trying to hide something. And it's, my gosh, we
So
want to
if-
do everything we can.
Let me clearly understand this. So if someone brings you a DVD, you don't charge them $1.50 or anything?
We haven't, but we talked about policy, and I don't
Mhm.
know if we've really clarified that policy, so
Okay.
that's kind of how we've
But
done
up to
it.
this date, have
Up
you
to this
charged?
date, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Because we want the correct information.
And on the
$1.
streaming, that's what we're working on right now. We
Okay.
have to clear it through our firewall and make sure that we have the bandwidth to do the
Mhm.
streaming. We have the capability to do it, but we haven't done it yet because it does tie up a lot of our bandwidth. So that's why. So I hope
Thank-
that helps
thank you,
answer.
and
I'm
thank you,
sorry.
Mr. Gorman.
Normally, I don't ever cut my little
No,
hole
no
there,
problem.
but-
Okay.
Thank you, Richard.
Director Waterman?
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to, the anger that I hear in your voice is new to me.
You weren't here last week.
Oh, I see. It's important for you to know. I think it's important for everyone to know. It seems like we say this at every meeting. We're all about the fact that this is a public meeting. The reason we asked Mr. Fitzpatrick to come back to the microphone is because we keep audio minutes on every meeting. We do what we can to make sure that our public is involved in what we're doing. And it strikes me that instead of assuming the worst, you might have perhaps assumed the best and done some research. I heard your research. But again, to think that you have to show up here as if we're doing something actively trying to keep you in the dark is a really very strong thing to say, and I look forward to seeing you at more meetings. And it's also important to note there's reasoning. The school board serves more than parents. The school board serves very tired teachers. The school board serves children with bedtimes. These are factors in the decisions about when we start meetings. Are we open to changing that? Of course, I suppose we are. Thank you for bringing that up. It's been brought up before, but we have a very broad community that we serve during this public meeting time. Something to consider. Thank you.
And certainly the time of the meeting, and this is something that Dr. Bishop has brought now that we have in the event that you did not know. We previously had a state administrative trustee, and that was the time of the meetings that is when we moved it to the 5 o'clock. And certainly Dr. Bishop has spoken to me, and we are in conversation already concerning the time of the meeting starting in the fall. Berkey World.
Good evening, President Wilson, members of the board. Hope you don't think my voice is angry. But the time was changed, was it 2004? When the state administrator took over because he wanted it that way. I have been trying for years to get it changed back to 7 o'clock. I'm glad you're talking about that. Maybe you might want to put it on as agenda items and let people talk about it. Both to get pros and cons from the public also. But as far as the being on TV, this district has come a long ways. I forget the gentleman's name that spoke. I've spoken to him many times. He does a very very good job. And I know the district does want to get him on not only TV, but get him out there to the internet. I think that's going to happen now. So hopefully that problem will be solved. But I'm glad that you're talking about moving the meetings back to 7 o'clock. I've been after that for a number of years. But again, it might be good to have a public, put it on as an action item and see what the public also has to say about it. Thank you.
One of the reasons that it hasn't come on now is because we're waiting till after the summer, so more people are available to make their comment. And we certainly invite anyone to make comments, whether they're knowledgeable on the subject or not. It's bringing it to our attention that there is a concern, and we're more than happy and most appreciative to have anyone speak. Thank you. That concludes our community forum. Yes.
Mark Garman. So because this is such an exciting thing to document, are we going to see more of you on our Wednesday night board meetings?
You very well may.
We ought to. If you're the VIB guy, you should be here documenting it, don't you think?
I have my associate here for starters.
Well, as long as you set up a video camera.
You guys are running video.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Well, I'm just suggesting,
yeah. But if
it's such exciting news for the community, which of course it is,
yeah.
and there's a lot of misconceptions out there, in part because...
Here's what I'll do.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, your IT guy invited me back to talk with him.
And he's going to talk firewall with you.
We're going to talk firewall or whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys put it on YouTube, I can embed it. I can take the video and embed it on my website. And I'll be more than happy to do that to help get the word out. And it'll appear right on VIB and say, hey, school board meetings are on YouTube now. Here it is.
I think that's wonderful, and it's a great idea to partner with you. You're a force in the community.
More than happy to put the word out there.
And you know what? That's how we work here.
Yeah.
People with good ideas, people who are willing to pitch in, we welcome them, and then things get better. Thank you, Mark.
That's what it's all about. Thank
Again,
you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Hazel. Take care.
Okay. Report of board members. Director Mumson.
I wanted to commend, I've noticed in my travels throughout the city lately that all our maintenance department has been very, very active. And it's too bad there aren't anyone here from them, but they've been tidying up and taking care of the loose ends that accumulate and just general maintenance in our buildings. And I think it's wonderful. They're like busy little beavers out there fixing everything that's broken. It's really nice. It's really nice to see. Other than that, that's about it. Once again, great graduations this year. Thank you.
Director Waterman.
I'm going to pass on the report, but I do look forward to hearing a very exciting edge-of-your-seat report from Steve about maintenance this summer.
I'm going to pass on my report, but I do want to acknowledge that there is a forum at Jesse Bethel High School on Saturday, I've forgotten, July 20th. And I will be bringing some young men to participate in this particular forum. And it's very exciting. It's kind of a male-to-male forum. And it's from 9 until 2. And there will be females participating too, because Dr. Bishop is on a panel. But it is looking towards student achievement and recognizing many of the things that this district is currently doing, such as full-service community schools, the Youth Summit, Positive Youth Justice Forum, and package that Dr. Bishop has put together for us. And the things that Dr. Bishop has brought to this district has accelerated far beyond and put us in the forefront in many areas. Today, I was on the internet, and I saw where the Washington, D.C. schools are going to 9th grade academies. And this is something that Dr. D'Amelio brought to us. And there were many people who were opposed to it. But this whole city of Washington, D.C. this year is going to 9th grade academies. Dr. Bishop is enhancing our current 9th grade academies. So I just feel that this district has made so many strides. And many people will look to the negative because the negative is easiest to talk about. It's very difficult to talk about the positive. It is very difficult to acknowledge change. And so, as president of this board, I am extremely pleased to be serving at this particular time in the Vallejo City Unified School District. That concludes my board report. Item 9.11, district authorized signatures for fiscal year 2013-2014. Lisa Dawson.
Good evening to the governing board, to President Wilson and Vice President Ubaldi in his absence, and to trustees Waterman and Mumpson, and to Superintendent in the seat, Mel Jordan, Valerie, our community members, and staff that are present. Each year and or as needed, we present the list of authorized signatures for the school district. This list would include those individuals who are responsible or eligible to sign various county governing documents as it relates to payables, payroll warrant registers, and the like. In addition to that, we also include other documentation and those individuals who are eligible to sign checks and or other contracts and other responsible parties that can enter into agreements and or execute agreements on behalf of the superintendent and the governing board. So we've waited to do this presentation after the local control, because we knew that we would be making some elemental changes at the beginning of the fiscal year. So we've added, for instance, our new director, James Arcala, to the list. We have removed Dr. D'Amelio in his capacity as the state administrator as an authorized signature. In addition to that, made the necessary alignment and adjustments to other team members. It may be as of title and or their function, but essentially your superintendent, all of your assistant superintendents, your chiefs, and other directors are the primary authorized signatories of the school district, and therefore eligible. In part, we commonly will will countersign. So just so everyone knows and the community knows how this works. If a contract is presented for a vendor, for instance, it's going through a routing process where not only the originator, which may be the principal at a school site or program manager, but the chief of that particular division, in addition to the superintendent, review those contracts as well as our purchasing department to make sure that the various elements of that contract are understood and are vetted out, so that before those contracts and are presented to the board for any type of execution, they've been fully vetted out by the stakeholders who would be best served to be able to make the right conclusion that we should enter to this agreement and or make amendments to it as it may be presented. So we have additionally added to this functionality the authorized signatures for our 403B and 457 documentation, in addition to reporting who the individuals are that are responsible for any documents that are requested of our students. So that may be, for instance, transcripts and or other documentation that's required of the court. We've added that to this item as well. So again, this serves as a document that the entire district and the county uses and serves in that capacity to know whose signature is authorized in these capacities. So we're presenting this list to the board for the 2013-14 year for approval.
Any questions?
I would, if there's no discussion, I would move to approve the suggested signatures. Dr. Ramona Bishop, Melvin P. Jordan, Sherry Summers, Lisa Grant Dawson, James Akala, Rosalina Flores, and Kelly Kagoshima.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the district, that we approve the authorized signatories for fiscal year 2013-2014. There may be a question as to why Lisa Grant Dawson is a signatory, but it's during the interim before she leaves the district that we still want her to have that authority. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the signatures are approved for 2013-2014.
Thank you.
Vallejo 9.2.1, Vallejo High School Grand Jury Report. We have the first draft of our response. Any board members have anything? I have a comment under response to recommendation 1. It says the board president has asked that the report as well as the video link be provided to not only the grand jury but the Positive Youth Justice Initiative leadership team for review and consideration. This is under the surveillance camera. I asked that the redacted copy, that would be removing the person's name involved in the video, and not only the Positive Youth Justice Initiative leadership and the grand jury, but the police department also have a copy of the video and the independent investigators report. And this is an information item. Any other comments?
No, but I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, as I said, this will continue to be, as I said, this will continue to be an information item. I have your card here. Dr. Robert Sisco? Sisco. Mm-hmm.
Before I start, I have a question because I had a lot of questions about some of your responses, some of them where I thought things weren't clear and things. What is the mechanism for the public?
Okay.
I can either go through all of them or you need to tell me what your mechanism is.
Okay. We have comment, we have it on every board meeting between now and September. In September, we will hold a meeting at Vallejo High School where Each item will be just as the first meeting. We will present the grand jury's recommendation, what our final response is, and because it will have been submitted then, what our final response, this is our draft, so we are continuing to work on this. Our final response, and the public, of course, will comment on each item as we go item by item.
You're talking about at that final meeting?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. If you want to make general comments tonight, that's
Yes,
fine.
I do.
Mhm.
I'm here as a private citizen, and in the interest of self-disclosure, I was a member of the grand jury. But I want people to know that as a member of the grand jury, we're sworn for life not to discuss anything that actually happened in the grand jury, nor to represent our views as being of the grand jury. What I can do is reiterate the information that is published in the grand jury report and ask questions about your responses. And I think what concerns me as a citizen is that parts of the grand jury report I felt were glossed over. And despite statements made by some at the meeting in May, I think VHS has some significant problems. And let me read from the grand jury report. The police came to the high school 107 times. There were 60 calls for assault of behavior or theft, 7 death threats to teachers, and 4 weapons incidents, including shots being fired in 2 of these incidents. And I haven't seen any discussion so far about assaults on the teachers. You also have 60 students who are on probation. And I quote directly from the grand jury report, district administration stated that marijuana was a major problem on campus. However, police reports indicate only 1 call was related to marijuana consumption. I would note that the school is required to report drug use to agencies. Now, I'm not an advocate of going back to the police, but just sending the students back to the classroom is not the correct solution. And I also think that the school board should be walking around the schools, not with the staff, but on their own and seeing things.
You need to know that I live a block and a half from that school. I'm on that campus every day. So yeah, as a school board member, and we have members of the audience who have volunteer at that school once a week, every day, and that group of people have indicated that they have not had any fear. I am very pleased to hear from a member of the grand jury. I am very pleased because this gives me a better understanding of the report.
I have to be very careful and only talk about what is actually in the report.
I understand. It gives me a good understanding of the authors of the report.
Well, I think that, no, you could only say that I am a member. I don't want you to paint the grand jury by your attitudes towards me. I'm one individual. I do not represent the grand jury. I think there's some very specific things, a few I might mention tonight, and maybe I'll do some the next time. Like in recommendation 1, you say that all staff has direct access to campus safety personnel. I'm asking how. You have 60 students on probation. Why wouldn't it make sense to have the probation person come here periodically so these kids don't have to go up to Fairfield?
Probation is a part of the Positive Youth Justice Initiative that Dr. Bishop has instituted. They're at the table with us. They will be the ones looking at the video that you will also have the opportunity to look at, and the independent investigators report, and the police.
Let me go on. I know that Mr. Stewart was talking about having, people could use their cell phones to carry their ID card on, but the problem is that the idea of an ID card is that you can tell from a distance whether someone belongs or not. You may want to think about that's a problem.
Okay, your time is up, I believe.
Well, but you in all deference, Ms. Wilson, you took some of my time.
Okay, give him, that's fine, 3 more minutes.
All right.
And then it's next speaker is Mr. Willie Mims.
Yeah, and on finding 7, dealing with giving teachers access, I'm glad to see you're changing the way you're doing it, but I want you to know when the grand jury looked at this whole issue, that the law says that you had to have given people access and you weren't doing it. I'm glad to see the change. And I think on recommendation number 9, and this is about disciplinary action and things, how are students being held accountable? And does this occur 100% of the time? Or are they just being sent back to class a significant amount of time? I think that's a major concern, I think, for me as a citizen. And I think the whole issue of drug use, I think it's a problem across America. So I'm not throwing rocks at Vallejo, but I'm hoping that you get programs that do more than just say to kids, well, you're coming in smelling of marijuana, we're not going to do anything about it. In some cases, you have kids who are living in family situations, and I think who else is going to be able to help them other than the schools initially until you get them involved with social work agencies and things.
And that's what the Positive Youth Justice Initiative is. Police at the table, it's probation, it's social welfare, it's everyone. And you know what? I think we should invite you to the table.
I'd be happy to come
because
if people...
I think that for you to get a real picture of what's happening in the Vallejo City Unified School District, the Positive Youth Justice Committee would be a perfect place.
And I'd be happy
for you to.
And one thing that I think you should understand, I think I'm typical of the public. Now, you may be doing a lot of things, but I don't think the public is necessarily aware.
And we understand.
And I will try to do things to publicize it in a positive way if you're doing positive things. The other thing is this whole thing about suspension and daily detention. The law says, because I spoke to people in Sacramento, that it has to be a credentialed teacher. Now you're saying, this is in response number 14, it can be an administrator or a teacher. And my understanding is the person has to be credentialed because the people in the state told me that what should be occurring is that they should be helping people with their classroom work and things rather than just sitting there, you know, someone just looking over them.
So you assume that the administrator would not be a credentialed teacher?
No, I'm asking, the way it's written,
Okay.
it doesn't say that that administrator is credentialed.
The administrator would be a credentialed teacher. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate hearing from the grand jury. Okay. The next item, are there any more comments from the, on the grand jury? Oh, Mr. Willie Mims. How could I miss that?
I was not going to allow you to let me by.
I'm sure you weren't.
Mims, a visitor from the East, a former teacher retired from the Vallejo Unified School District. I had no intention of coming this day, but when I saw this item on the agenda, I decided to show up. I heard what the person from the grand jury said. I happen to be one of those people who criticized that report. I criticized it because, first of all, the grand jury itself did not reflect the diversity of this community. When I looked at the makeup of the grand jury, I see that out of the 19, 13 of them are white. But even if we don't look at that, that school had a WASC accreditation report about a month before the grand jury's report. How come the grand jury did not look at their report? They would have something to go on. I mean, but just my question is this. Was the grand jury itself qualified to do an objective evaluation of the Vallejo High School? I submit to you, no, they were not. What are the qualifications? Farming, forestry, recreation, 11 members. Construction, extraction, 65 to 74, 13 members. So when you look at this makeup here, and you compare and contrast it to who came out and stayed 3 days at Vallejo High School on that WASC accreditation. These were professionals in this field. The grand jury were evaluating a program that they were not qualified to do. So if they, in other words, they were not appropriate authorities. When I was an instructor, I always used to tell students to cite appropriate authorities. So you can't use someone who is a garbage collector to evaluate somebody's written paper. They are not qualified. So that was my main concern. But I had some other concerns, but I just wanted to talk about the qualifications. They did not have the qualifications to do it. Also, lastly, I'm still got time. I think that they may have been influenced by someone on that campus, biased. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I don't have the truth, but in my heart, I believe that there's some truth behind that. And when the citizen came up here and said that he was not representing the grand jury, you have to be very careful because he should not have even stated that he was on the grand jury. And with that, I'll close my mouth and sit down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mims. Always welcome the visitor from the East, former Vallejo City Unified School District teacher. Retired now. Okay, any other comments? This item will be on every agenda between now and September. I requested that because we own this report. We are not running from it. We're not shoving it in a drawer. We are in every way preparing our final response. And again, at staff, a redacted copy of the video and the independent investigators report to the police department, to the grand jury, to the Positive Youth Justice Committee.
And can we get Mr. Schussel the dates for the next meetings?
Yes, and make sure when the Positive Youth Justice Committee meets, I definitely want him. And Mr. Mims, I'd like you present also.
What date?
And we'll let you know the date. Okay. And we thank you, gentlemen, for your willingness to serve. Do you have anything? This is an information item, and as I said, it's going to be on every meeting agenda. Item 10.1, personnel action, number 1452.
Yes, what I would do is I'd like to take this one. I'd like to call, Gigi's not here this evening, but Eleanor Patan is here. When she comes up, actually, it's just an it's a recommendation from the governing board to receive the information and the personnel actions. I'm not sure if there's anything that Eleanor would like to say, but we do have 2 appointees in the room that I'd like to have come up as we typically do the initiation as far as having them say something about themselves. We'd like to have Kim Mitchell, who is just new principal of Pennycook Elementary School, and we have Heather Topasco, also who is a new principal for Dan Mini Elementary School. So if they, let's give them a big hand. With that, we would just have either one of you start, and we will listen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Kimberly Mitchell. I stand before you, the proud principal of Pennycook. I'm supported by 2 of my teachers, Ms. Heidel and Ms. Erickson, who came out on their own. I've been in the district since 1999. I'm a dedicated employee, and I look forward to continuing to serve the community.
Congratulations. Yeah. And we appreciate her staff for coming out and supporting her. Good seeing you guys.
And I'm Heather Topasco, principal of Dan Mini Elementary,
and I've been in the district for about 12 years. And again, I'm eager and ready to serve as well, so I'm excited about this new appointment.
Congratulations. We were happy to have you aboard.
With that being said, did I miss anyone, Eleanor? Anyone else here? Okay, we're good. Again, I want to thank you both. On behalf of Dr. Bishop, she always likes to see our administrators who have just been appointed to come speak. So thank you very much. Have a nice break.
I don't think they're going to have much of a break. Congratulations, ladies. Excuse me. Item 11.0, consent items. Is there anything to pull? Then we can.
I move to approve items 11.1 through 11.7.
I would second that same.
It has been moved that we approve consent items 11.1 to 11.7. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent items 11.1 through 11.7 are approved. No need for community forum. Our next board meeting, when is it? August?
Point of order?
Yes.
Future agenda items.
Oh, I'm sorry. Future agenda items. I guess I'm trying to.
I'd like to bring back the ADA report that Mr. Chief used to inform us of where we were at the meetings. And so it was always a nice thing when someone would ask me, gee, how many kids are in your district? And I could say 14,552.5 as of Friday. So I like to know that. If we could just have that quick report, that would be fine.
And I also would like an adult school report from Mike Santos, because I would like to,
correct.
as I said earlier, so that we can have the continuity and to know between the committee and Mr. Santos as to what is going on.
I concur.
And that's August what? 7th. Now, if that item needs to be heard earlier, we may have to have a special board meeting for that particular item, because we are moving forward with working with GVRD and everything. So that and I think August might be too late. So we may need to have a special board meeting. So please look into that for me. Okay. And again, the grand jury report will be on the agenda. Anything else? Yes. Absolutely, it'll be a public meeting. Oh, for sure. Yes. Yes, definitely make sure the committee is aware of the meeting, of if we have a special board meeting, the date and time. Okay. This meeting is adjourned.